This is a demonstration of exercise M917 using ROI and RI to evaluate investment centers. Zims, a national manufacturer of lawn mowing and snow blowing equipment, segments its business according to customer type, professional, and residential. The following divisional information was available for the past year, and the problem gives us the net sales revenue, operating income, and average total assets for the residential and professional divisions. In the first requirement, it asks us to calculate each division's return on investment and round all of the answers to 4 decimal places. So to calculate return on investment, we divide the operating income by the average total assets. So for the residential, we would take the operating income of $65,280 and we would divide that by the average total assets of $192,000, and that would give us return on investment for residential of 34%. For the professional, we take their operating income of $164,820 and we would divide that by the average total assets of $402,000, and that gives us a return on investment for professional of 41%. In the second part, it asks us to calculate each division's profit margin ratio and interpret the results. So the profit margin ratio is calculated by dividing the operating income by the net sales revenue. So residential's profit margin ratio would be equal to their operating income in the numerator, $65,280, divided by the net sales revenue in the denominator of $550,000, and that gives the residential a profit margin ratio of 11.87%. For professional, we would divide the operating income of $164,820 by the net sales revenue of $1,090,000, and that would give professional a profit margin ratio of 15.12%. So the interpretation of this ratio is that we see that the professional profit margin ratio does exceed that of the residential division. So what this means is the residential division is earning about 12 cents on each dollar of sales, while the professional division is earning about 15 cents on each sales dollar. In Part 3, it asks us to calculate each division's asset turnover ratio and to interpret the results. So the asset turnover ratio is equal to the net sales revenue divided by the average total assets. So for the residential division, we would divide the net sales revenue in the numerator of $550,000 by the average total assets in the denominator of $192,000, and we would get an asset turnover ratio of 2.8646. For professional, we would divide the net sales revenue of $1,090,000 in the numerator by the average total assets in the denominator of $402,000, and that would give professional an asset turnover ratio of 2.7114. So we can see that the residential division is generating about $2.87 of sales for every dollar of average total assets that are invested. And the professional division is earning about the same, $2.71 of sales for each dollar of average total assets invested. And the residential division is more efficient, slightly more, using its assets. And in Part 4, it says use the expanded ROI formula to confirm your results from Requirement 1, and what can you conclude? So you can also calculate return on investment by multiplying the profit margin ratio by the asset turnover ratio, because both of these ratios have net sales revenue, so they would cancel out. And so when you multiply these two by each other, we see that we get the same number for return on investment. The residential division had a return on investment, as we calculated prior to this in Requirement 1, of 34%, and professional also had the same return on investment of 41%. So we can see that the results are the same as in requirement 1, except for maybe some slight rounding differences. And professional had the higher return on investment, as we saw in the beginning, and we now know that the reason, or most of the reason for that, was because it does have a higher profit margin ratio than the residential division, and their asset turnover ratios are quite close. So that is the conclusion of the demonstration for exercise M917.